Evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining me tonight. This is, if you don't know, this is study group for Introduction to African American Studies that is taught by Dr. Barlow. Obviously, I do not know Dr. Barlow, but we are in Hillman Talk University, okay? Period. And we got to study because we get A's over here. Church? Okay. Listen, we got a lot to get through tonight. We only got 2 hours. I made a mistake and put 30 minutes on the invite. Y'all, don't worry about it. We got 2 hours because I got to go pick up my husband from the airport, and he's more important than y'all. But I wanted to, like I do every study session, we're going to go over the rules for new people and the late people. Now listen, to be early is on time. To be on time is to be late, and to be late is unacceptable. Okay? Thank you. Yeah, I'm drinking wine again, so I'm a little burpy. I feel like my 3-year-old nephew. Okay. So I'm going to go over some of the rules and expectations of this study group tonight. Then I'm going to go over some names of people and who they are. We are talking about tonight the 13th documentary by Ava DuVernay. Now listen, I added a trigger warning to this class or this study group, because it was a lot. It was a lot for me, and I've watched it already, but it was a lot. And with the climate of the country right now, with people doing Yahtzee salutes, it's a lot. Okay, and so we're going to talk about some sensitive subjects tonight, and some subjects that are going to make people emotional. But I want to have vigorous conversation. So I want to remind us all to make sure we are using TikTok appropriate language. If we're going to talk about, you know how you step on a crack and you break your mother's back? Okay, if we're going to talk about that drug, we're going to say powder or solid. We're not going to call it the two names that they are. If we're talking about unaliving somebody, we're going to use unalive and not the M word or not the K word, all right? If we're talking about pew-pewing, that's the word we're going to use. We're not going to use the G-U-N word, okay? All right. So when I introduce you to the panel, when I allow you to come in, I'm going to allow 5 people at a time. All right. As soon as you come in, mute yourself. You can mute yourself before you come in. You just got to figure it out. When you come in, you're going to introduce yourself with your name, your city, your pronouns if you care to, your classifications, and your major. You can say hanging from strange fruit or strange fruit. I'm sorry, hanging from the Lord. You can say strange fruit for the L word if you need to say it. So my name, Brandy, my middle name is Helena. So my handle is Brandihelena, direct discourse. Why is it direct discourse? Because I'm direct. Because I'm going to say what I need to say. I don't intend to be mean. I don't intend to be hurtful. But if you're hurt, that's not my job to manage. Okay. Just fair warning. I have spent 16 years in retail and 22 years dealing with customers. I know how to say things without cursing. I do have a potty mouth, but I know how to say things without cursing. I know how to speak directly and get my point across. So I really do make an effort to be kind, but it doesn't mean that you will always feel that way. Is that fair? My pronouns are she, her, and queen. My classification, thank you. My classification is senior, and my major is the Black woman is everything. The Black woman is gold. All right. Now, there was a little bit of confusion the last 2 nights about what your major, your classification should be. Your classification should be, where do you think you are in the work of African American studies? All right. Regardless of your race, where do you think you are with that? Your major is whatever you want it to be. So if you're actually in school and you want to share what your major is, do that. If you want to make, somebody said their major yesterday was decentering whiteness. I love it. I love to see it. Okay. And it was a white woman who said it. You can make it up. Listen, this is fake, but it's real. Okay. Y'all don't take it too seriously. Also, everybody in my comments keeps asking me, how do you register? Baby, this is TikTok. You don't have to register. It's TikTok. Just follow the kid. Follow me. Every video that I make about African American studies is going to be in a playlist. So all you got to do is go to my page and watch the playlist to see if you missed anything, okay? Starting tomorrow, I will post some content that is specific to how I'm going to move forward, right? Like this whole Dr. Barlow thing kind of hit me left. I made that one video and didn't really, I won't say I didn't expect, I can't stand when people say, I didn't expect my video to blow up. Listen, I think all my videos should blow up because I'm me, all right? But to be honest, I didn't expect the need, right? The need for an actual study group. But that's okay because I can deliver. So give me till tomorrow to make some content and I will let you all know moving forward what days we're going to have class. Like I'm not teaching class, I'm hosting study group, right? So my intention is to facilitate conversation, to steer the conversation, maybe enlighten a few people with what I do know, but I'm not here to teach because I don't have no PhD. Not Thursdays. I can't promise that because I do book clubs on Sundays and Wednesdays, but I'm working on uploading the lives to YouTube. Y'all bear with me. I'm gonna do my best to get it done by tomorrow. Okay. So we're talking about the 13th documentary. Oh, also, I'm just gonna be honest with you tonight. I mentioned this yesterday. I mean, I'm honest with y'all every night, but I mentioned this yesterday, and I want to say it again. It is not okay to bully people in my comment section, in my content, or on this live. I get that you may feel that white people need to be quiet, they don't need to participate. I would argue that if anybody needs this course, it's not us. Okay? If anybody needs this study guide, it ain't us. So I'm not saying you don't get to feel how you feel, but I'm saying in the space that I curate, it's not okay to bully anybody. Okay? That I won't accept that. With that said, this specific topic is very sensitive, and for that reason, tonight I'm only going to be accepting panelists who present as African American or POC. Because to be very frank, I'm not interested in what white people have to say. All right? You're welcome to say whatever comment you need to say in the comment section. But tonight, the panel regarding 13th is going to be a vigorous conversation about what Black people experience, what they knew and didn't know, what they learned from this documentary, how that correlates to the song we just listened to by TuPac called Changes. And that's how this conversation is going to go, okay? Thank you for your understanding. And if you don't understand, you know how to leave, okay? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So before I add some panelists, y'all make sure y'all share the live. Just like any other regular class, we have drop ad, okay? And so the first night, it was popping. We had up to 500 people in here. In the third night, it's 151 people. So thank y'all for staying, but that's how ad drop goes, don't it? So we're going to talk about who Ava DuVernay is. Ava DuVernay. There we go. We're going to talk about who Jelani Cobb is and who TuPac is. Now, we have some other notes about who some other people are, but that's further on into the conversation, okay? So Ava DuVernay was born in 1972. She is an award-winning filmmaker, most famous for her works creating the film Selma in 2014, the documentary 13th, which you should have watched already, in 2016, the miniseries When They See Us. I neglected to write down when that came out. I have still not watched that documentary because it's too much. I'm desensitized, and I can't watch any more of my people bleed out on the street. And Queen Sugar, which is a drama series that came out in 2016. All right. Dr. Jelani Cobb. So I tried to find him on this app to try to invite him. He's not really on, he's on social media, but he be like poking his head in. Dr. Jelani Cobb was my professor at Spelman. He taught me 2 different classes. Lord help me, I don't remember the name of them. But he is a great orator, a great professor. He was born in 1969. He is an American author, educator, and currently serves as the dean at Columbia Journalism School. I bring him up because he is, I would argue, the most interviewed in the documentary 13th, and I felt like you should know who he was. He has been featured in numerous newspapers, TV interviews, and documentaries. Okay. I also think he's in Stamped from the Beginning documentary, if I'm not mistaken. And then Tupac. Okay. Tupac was born in 1971. He died in 1996. He was a poet, American rapper, and an actor. He had 4 studio albums, and he was featured in movies like Poetic Justice and Juice. If you don't know who Tupac is, I get you in the right place. Cause what? What you mean? What do you mean you don't know? Who don't know Tupac? Put it in the comments. We ain't gonna beat you up. We just want to know what's going on. Yeah, I have to go back. I just finished reading It Was All a Dream about Biggie's life. And so I've been deep into Biggie's music recently. I mean, I'm a New Yorker, so I already know all of his music, but like I wanted to listen to it again. And then listening to Tupac's music today, I was like, oh, All Eyes on Me was my album that got me through. So yeah. I don't know who doesn't know him, girl, but somebody don't. Somebody don't. All right, so we're gonna open up the panel. I don't see anybody requesting. Is that because I said I don't want to hear from white folk? Oh, just really quickly, also, if you would like to follow me on other platforms, I'm on Instagram. Here we go. Instagram, Fanbase, Threads, and YouTube. Same handle. Same handle. If you would like to donate to the cause for direct discourse to Brandihelena, if you want to buy me a coffee, if you just appreciate that I keep showing up at the same time every day to help you learn a little bit something, you can cash at me or you can Venmo me. Guess what? Same handle. It's so easy. It's so easy. You can pull out your phone right now. No pressure. Okay. You don't know how to request. I don't know how to tell you to request. Actually, um, let me see if I can find you. Daily. I have a question for you. I don't think you have to have a certain amount of followers to participate in somebody's live. I don't think so. The multi button next. There you go. The multi button next to where you type a comment. Oh, it's the same for y'all. Okay. Thank you. The lives will be on YouTube, girl. Yes. Yes. Just, I had a lot to do today. Listen, I did laundry. I cleaned the house. I booked the trip. I walked the dog. I sent the quote. I have a small business. I filled some orders. Black women be black women in. Okay? All right. I have one guest. Please mute up. Please mute up. Anybody else?
Hello,
Anybody?
can you hear me?
Yes, but can you mute up for a second? Thank you.
Oh, yes, of course.
Thank you. All right, there we go. Okay, Daily Poof figured it out. Let's see. Mute up for me, please. Mute up for me, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right, Miss B24, you're welcome to unmute.
Hello again. Good evening, guys. Glad to be back. Um, yeah, when you said this was heavy, this this was heavy for real.
Pause for a second. Can you remind us your name and
Of
give us your
course,
classification and your major? Thank you.
of course. Again, my name is Brittany. Thank you for that re-clarification of your classification and major. I appreciate that. My pronouns are she, her. I hail from Twin Cities
Yes.
in Minnesota. Classification, I would say like sophomore,
Okay.
because thanks to eighth grade, I started learning about a lot more people of color and black people, but I still need more. um, Major, just a ambiguous biracial woman trying to learn more about herself and her people.
Okay. And
All
what did
right,
you
but
want to
yeah,
add?
you hit it right on the nail when you said it was heavy. Um, and I didn't realize how deep it went in terms of like just how this chain of reaction of just like changing the chains of how we've been captured, so to speak. Um, because it never stopped. It just changed in terms of the method of the cage that we were in. And I just didn't realize how deep that went. And then just the amount of prison population growth. Like I did not realize how insane that got. Um, and then one of the things that was really heavy for me was what is his name? Why am I blanking on his name? I have it all written down too. Where is it? I apologize.
No worries.
Oh, I had to flip. Oh, here it is. Khalif
Khalif
Broder.
Browder. Mm-hmm.
Browder, yeah. And I had no idea about him, so that was extra brand new information for me. And I was balling. I was
Yeah.
straight balling for this poor man, who was just trying to figure out a way to get it spoken into of like this is not fair, this is not right, and it just made things so much worse for him. And I just, whew, that was
Yeah.
heavy. And but I will say I'm glad that I watched this because it showed me so much more and so much more in depth of everything that's been going on since the jump um, to now and where things are with us now. And I just continue to hope and keep that half glass full mindset of like, hopefully, if we can continue being communities like we are right now with this, just for example, this Hillman Talk University, maybe we can really make some major changes happen for us.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brittany. I appreciate you sharing. You're welcome
Yeah,
to
thank you.
disconnect. No
All
worries.
right, bye bye.
So thank you. I think you make some great points about nothing having changed. And I want us to keep in mind, if you've been here since Friday, we talked about The Revolution Will Not Be Televised by Gil Scott Heron. We talked about I Will Not Vote by W.E.B. Du Bois. Yesterday, we talked about Atlanta season 2, episode 6, Teddy Perkins. And we talked about something else. I feel like I'm missing something. But all the things we talked about, there is this even stream of like nothing changed. Specifically, This Is America. I think I was talking to JJ, and he had offered that he felt like racism was changing. I was like, no. At the end, the cars were old and stagnant, right, and had dust on them. Like it's the same. If anything, it progresses, it changes in the sense like technology changes, but it doesn't change in like it lessens, right? It just the way it rears its ugly head may change, but not the fact that it exists changes, right? And so yeah, I think it speaks to that. And I also think Tupac's song changes. I felt like Tupac's song, he could have watched this documentary and wrote that song. Did anybody feel like I and the name of the song is Changes. Like I see no changes is the first line in the song. So to me, the reason why that part wasn't given by our professor, but I felt like it correlated in the same way that W.E.B. Du Bois's I Won't Vote correlates to now. Like that could have been, you could change the names out and it could have been written yesterday, right? And so Tupac's song, when did he pass? He passed in 1996. I don't remember when he wrote that song, but he could have watched that documentary in 2016 and wrote it. He could have watched that documentary yesterday and wrote it. And so it's eerie that we feel like we make so many changes in our country every single day, changing laws or protesting, and then to Tupac's point, I see no changes. Thank you for sharing. I do want to, as I'm accepting people, I want to add in some facts and takeaways that I saw, and hopefully we all can like try to incorporate that into our conversation. I want to encourage you that if you do come to speak, please write down what you want to say. so that we can get the gist of what you're saying and you can land your plane. Because I do want to get as many people to speak as possible. It's a study group, right? And also keep this in mind. If you're going to say something that sounds eerily similar to what somebody else said, it's okay if you don't say it. It's okay that somebody else said everything you were going to say and you can drop off or you cannot ask to be brought up, okay? It's not okay that you're late. No, I'm playing Addicted Bureau. I'll just play it. All right. So some points I want to go over before I allow the next person. I didn't hear it mentioned in this documentary. I might have missed it. But what the documentary is about is the prison industrial complex. Okay? The prison industrial complex is the concept of organizations, institutions working in conjunction with the government to profit from privatized prison or privatized corrections. Okay. For the life of me, I was waiting for somebody to say those words and it never happened. And I think that's really interesting. I wanted to point out the name of the documentary is the 13th. The 13th Amendment makes it illegal to hold someone as a slave except prisoners. So technically, slavery is still legal as long as you are a prisoner to the United States government. Okay. And then also, I wanted to bring up they talk about Birth of a Nation, the movie. And the sitting president at the time, Woodrow Wilson, who was born in 1856 and died in 1924. He was the 28th president of the United States. He held a viewing at the White House for people to see The Birth of a Nation. The Birth of a Nation was a horrific movie that in blackface, portrayed Black people as savages. And so I want to present you with the question to ponder, which is what power, and to the extent that movie literally changed the trajectory of our country, right? So, for example, they point out in the documentary that burning crosses wasn't even a thing until that movie came out. And now it's synonymous with the Klan. And so, what power, I want you to compare and contrast the power you think it had that the sitting president of the United States, Woodrow Wilson, would play a movie like that inside the White House, and the current president, who has been president twice now, saying things like there's good people on both sides, right? What do you like in comparison, the power that gives to people who intend to harm Black and brown bodies? Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm approving comments. All right. Deli, please correct me. I know that's not your name. You're welcome to
It's Adele.
Adele. Thank you.
Yes. That's my name, and I'm from San Diego, California. She, her. My major was in fashion design, but what I wanted to do here was just learn more about I know it's going to be extremely painful, but I wanted to know more. I've always done research by myself, so I just wanted to know so I can give more props to my ancestors, like all of everything of what I do. I want to stand firm in their stance and how they were, and I want to, like, at least one day, like stand with them and say I did my best. Like, I want to show my face in front of them and be proud and give them all of what I am. I did read the W.E.D. Du Bois. So that one made me think a lot. I took a lot of notes on that. And then the thoughts on This Is America. I took a lot of one thing that really hit me. I don't know why it kept going back and forth with it. His last part, when at the video he's saying he's just a Black man, he's just a buck boy. And he started running. That kind of hit me, and I guess it's because I couldn't come up with a conclusion. So I had a question about it, I would say.
Okay.
With the revolution would not be televised. and them saying that basically it's going to be at a moment's notice. Nobody is going to give you anything. It won't be a it won't be televised. Nobody will tell you anything. You won't get any hints or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
There will be no warnings. There will be nobody to sing about it. There will be no one to dance to it. It will just be live and in action.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to, and I'm the kind of I met Tupac, what I would say, when I was 12. He had already passed by then, but my mother gave it to me. So like I was 12 when I first listened to him.
Mm-hmm.
So Tupac is like he allowed me to think about bigger pictures
Mm-hmm.
and not just how I was feeling. And I think Respecty, I think that's Vinnie Lou Hamer, or I believe that's her picture. I saw her interview of when she went to Congress or she went to somewhere and she talked about what she had went through, which it was extremely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to learn more because I would say I'm not that good. Like my body is pretty much broken. So I'm just trying to get stronger so that I can be able to learn more, love more, do more, expect more, and not necessarily close myself off, but to have standards. Like I just don't want to just throw myself in front of things
Mm-hmm.
when someone else wouldn't do it. So
Gotcha.
I just want to protect me and mine, and but I want to understand all of it. I just yearn for information. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Adele. Just a quick question. Were you in the study group that we had yesterday and Friday?
I was not. I didn't even
Okay.
know we had one. I had wrote everything down when I saw
No
you,
worries.
and I didn't even get. I was like, oh, and I was just scrolling, and I happened to see you, so I was like, oh, let me
Awesome.
log in. I didn't even know it was today either, because you said Sunday or like next week. So I was like, okay, let me write that
Got
down
you.
for next
No
week. And
worries.
that's all I
So
thought. Sorry.
definitely follow me. You can watch my playlist and you will see like any notes or updates that I have. Like tomorrow I will be making content surrounding the notes that I've taken from our study group. And also I'm gonna post the lives to YouTube. But I wanted to the reason why I asked you is because one of the things we talked about with the revolution will not be televised is I watched a video about Gil Scott Heron talking about what he meant in this poem because previously to this video I always assumed that what they meant was or what he meant was like the revolution will be grassroots, like it won't be on the 10 o'clock news because it'll be very much like how the Panther movement, the Black Panthers moved. But
Hmm.
what he meant was the revolution is in your mind. Like
Hmm.
before you can change who you are, before you can change the world, you got to change your mind. So it can't be
Hmm.
televised because it's happening in your head.
Oh,
It is a an awakening that
yes.
you personally are having, which is why it can't be televised. It happens live. You won't get noticed because it'll be, and I think even a lot of white people are having this realization now. Their eyes are being opened because they're like, I didn't know this and I didn't realize this, or everything I've been told is a lie, right? Even black people are having this experience where they're like, oh, I didn't know about the prison industrial complex, or I didn't know about ALEC, like this whole organization that works with lawmakers
Oh,
and
yeah.
businesses, like it happens here, right?
Yes.
And so that's what he's talking about. Hey, Aina, that's what he's talking about in that poem. But yeah, definitely tomorrow evening I should have everything posted, including this live, and you
Okay.
can go back and watch everything and take as many notes as you want.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect you. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye. And I have next Javon. Did I say it right?
Yes,
Yes. Hi, Javon. How are you?
I'm well. How about yourself?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Javon. I am from Northeast Ohio. I have a bachelor's in education, did some master's work, but didn't finish because I wanted to do a PhD. That fell through. Right now, I'm just doing continuing education. I'm pretty much self taught. And I am the daughter of a Jim Crow era woman.
Okay.
So I have a little bit of experience with those stories. So a lot of outside research and learning that I tried to pass on to my son and daughter as well.
Okay.
So
And what did you want to add tonight?
I think that the 13th is a good place for people to get an idea of the general landscape of things, but I would also recommend looking into to documentaries done about the Panthers, documentaries done about the court case against Angela Davis and how Reagan and all of them really went out of their way to try and get her jammed up. Asada Shakur, learning about her. These, for me, are great foundational resources to get your mind into a more 360-degree understanding of what has been going on in this country since its inception. Not only that, but I understand that this is about Black Americans, but having an understanding of how the natives also were done also helps because wiping out entire cultures through disease blankets and the Trail of Tears, that way you have more information to prepare yourself for the possibility of. I was always taught to prepare for the worst, and if it doesn't happen, you're fine.
Mm.
I know, pretty grim childhood, right?
No, if you don't have to, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So
Right.
I'm with you on that one.
Also, the Hidden Color series is a wonderful series for any and everyone. Um, I came across it on a hum years and years ago, so I have it downloaded. It's because it's not cheap. Also, PBS some years ago did a Black History series called Eyes on the Prize, and it was broken down throughout the Black History Month. So, just anything you can get to inform yourself and have that knowledge to give you a better opportunity to have critical thinking skills. That was something my mother always insisted that I have, was the ability to take their lie, decipher through the lie, find some common ground, and go from there. Because ultimately they're lying. They're not going to tell us the truth because why would they tell the people they're trying to subjugate and impress the truth? You have to be able to read between the lines.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you. I was looking up what you're talking about. I hadn't heard of the Hidden Color series, but certainly Eyes on. I grew up very black. I'm black, y'all, and I'm black. Like I grew up very much that, and so Eyes on a Prize was something between that and Roots. I probably watched it once a week, every other week, something like that. And definitely Asada. I read that in high school. I'm going to show this to everybody. I want to show it the book. Bear with me, just so you know what it looks like when you're searching for it.
Yeah, Hidden Colors is done by Tariq Nasheed.
So this is Asada. I know I don't think it's backwards, y'all. Maybe it is. I don't know. This is Asada Shakur. That's the name of her book. Is Asada. Her and Angela Davis have similar stories in that they were what do you
Being
call it?
persecuted by the government.
Yeah, but they were, what's the word when you
Scapegoats?
no when you framed, they were framed. There we go. That's the word I was trying to find. They were both framed for unaliving. If I'm not Amumia, if I'm not mistaken, police officers. And so Asada fled to Cuba, and Angela Davis got acquitted. You
Yes.
can learn more about that in Angela Davis's biography, Angela Davis. Um, and then also I'm gonna look into the Hidden Colors. I hadn't heard about that, but absolutely, thank you so much for the
One last thing.
recommendation. Sure.
Actually, if you guys want to see the documentary surrounding the court case of Angela Davis, it's
Hmm.
on Tubi. It's called
Okay.
Free Angela and All Political Prisoners.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
so much.
having me.
Of course. Thank you for speaking. I appreciate you. You have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
My mom is texting me. Told him I'm busy. Um, everybody's posting, they're typing in. So you got Asada, you got Hidden Colors, you got Eyes on the Prize, and you got Free Angela. Also, Brittany had mentioned Khalif Browder. There is a documentary that was produced by Jay-Z called Time, the Khalif Browder Story. And I believe that's on Netflix as well. You can, if I know Brittany, you said you had never, was it Brittany that said you hadn't, I think you said you had never heard of Khalif Browder. So yeah, you can learn more about that story and what happened to him. Yeah, that was heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking. I'm from New York, so I was very familiar with the story. Um, what's sadder than his story is that he's not an anomaly. He's not an anomaly. It happens every day. He just didn't survive mentally. Like he physically survived it, but he never survived mentally. All right. Respect, you're welcome to unmute.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. I go by Key. I am from the Peach State. Yay, Georgia. Yeah, not
Georgia.
really. Yeah, no, we'll move on from that. Anyway.
I'm in Atlanta, so I'm with you.
Oh, okay, so you already know. Okay,
Yeah.
so right now I am in pursuit of my PhD in African American Studies. So I am very
Okay.
excited for this. The 13th, her documentary was a very interesting but hard watch because you see a lot of parallels of what we going through today. And you mentioned the prison industrial complex. And if you notice, that really started when you had Nixon, Reagan, and it happened after the, remember, peace and love era, when they went after the hippies and they went
Mm-hmm.
after the blacks. Because when you see the chart, I think it's in the beginning when you see how it exploded as far as how they was holding people and why they was holding people. To me, that was like very eye opening.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, with everything in this nation, I always say to myself, racism has always stood the test of time. However,
Mm-hmm.
legislation has not. So while racism has evolved to match with the time set, racism, you know, wasn't. And just another point that you brought out, the current one in the Oval Office, I'm not going to say the name, no need.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot in common with Woodrow Wilson. So it's
Mm-hmm.
one of those things, in order to understand the present, you have to know your past. Because nothing that is being done now, including the 13th, is anything new underneath the sun. So when you know the game plan, our ancestors already gave us the blueprint to deal with it. And I really like what you said as far as the revolution will not be televised because it's a way of thinking. Because when you're mind free, you could think freely. And the one point that I want to end with is I always think every time something happens, I think about James Baldwin when he had that interview and he asked him, how much more time is needed for progress? He said, my grandparents waited, I waited. How much more time, white tea America, do you need for us
Mm-hmm.
to have progress? And I thought that was so important because we still asking the same question today. But I just, you know, I said that's my last thing, but this is my last thing for real, for real. I am so appreciative of these classes, not only because the tuition is affordable, but for the reason is teaching me specifically, and I'm sure others, if it ever came to that point where we have to teach each other again, we will be just fine. And I love that for us. And just for the
Yes.
young lady that is Fannie Lou Hamer, who, in my opinion, is not talked enough about in history. But I want to thank you for bringing me up, and I look forward to listening to the rest of the class.
Thank you so much, Key. I appreciate you sharing tonight.
Not a problem.
Have a good night.
You as well.
Bye. Whew. Okay. I think we had some good discussion. Hold on, let me move that. All right. Yeah, it is good, right? Hey Nola. I'm just going through the comments real quick. I just want to see if there's anything I need to address. Anybody got some questions for me? Okay. So Key brought up some really great points, and actually were my very next notes that I had, right? About the mass incarceration. I'm sorry, pause. I saw somebody ask about Michelle Alexander. No, I did not speak about her. You're welcome. I Googled her really quickly when you mentioned her and saw that realized she was the woman in the documentary. I didn't give any background on her. So you're welcome to add that to the conversation. If you would like, you can request to be a guest. So back to what Key was saying. So the next part of my notes talk about mass incarceration and how the Southern strategy was invented, right? By, I think it was Lee Atwater. And part of that strategy was to use coded words to recruit poor whites into the Republican Party. Excuse me. The same conversations. I'm sorry, y'all. I needed the wine. Give me a second. The same conversations that we have today that are very coded. So they say things like underperforming or underprivileged, welfare queens, and all of these words they use to say anything but black folks, right? Super predators. The clip of Hillary Clinton calling teenage children, black children, super predators will remain in infamy till after she's gone, right? So Nixon's advisor, John, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this man's name, admits that Nixon's campaign in 1968 had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people, right? They caught him on tape saying that. Nixon coined the term war on drugs. And this is, when I rewatched this documentary, this is the line that made me remember Tupac's song. Because that line in his song has always spoken to me when he says, hold on, y'all, because I be taking notes. He said, it's a war on the streets and the war in the Middle East. Same. Right now, there's a war in the streets and there's a war in the Middle East. Okay, free Palestine. Instead of a war on poverty, they got a war on drugs so the police could bother me. And it speaks to this idea that we are constantly trying to address the symptom and not the problem in this country, in my humble opinion. Thank you, Chanel. I love you, baby. Y'all go follow Chanel. She's a baddie. So I found it interesting, right? Because Reagan even says, so it started with Nixon and it went into Reagan, like he was saying, with Nancy Reagan saying, just say no. Oh, I can't tell you how many times I heard that as a kid growing up. Also, all of the after school specials that they had I thought I was going to be offered a lot more extracurricular activities. I thought I was going to get to high school and people was going to be like, you want some of this? You want some of that? It ain't never happened. Ain't nobody try to give me no free. I was ready to say no, and it never happened, right? And then when it did happen, I don't know that I said no. But there was this intentional need to address how the problem showed up and not the actual problem, right? And an example of that would be the difference on how they addressed the solid versus the powder, right? Because one was cheaper than the other, but a certain demographic was able to use one because it was cheaper. And so that one got the mandatory sentencing. And then when I watched the clip of Hillary Clinton calling young black teenagers super predators, her exact words were, they have no empathy and no conscience. And it struck me as odd because right now, you can Google on your phone the Mothers of Liberty? They're a racist white woman group. You can find interviews of them being upset that their children are learning empathy in school. Moms of Liberty, thank you. They're upset that their children are learning empathy in school, right? They have no conscience. The very thing you wanted to put black boys away for the rest of their lives for, you are currently encouraging to teach in schools right now to your white children. It I had to pause it. I said, this shit, I had to rewind it and make sure that's what she said. I think at some point I'm going to make a video of Hillary Clinton saying they don't have a conscience, they don't have no empathy, and the Moms of Liberty saying they're teaching their kids empathy. So the problem was never empathy and conscience. The problem was they were black kids. The problem was that they were black kids. That's why the population in prison keeps going up, because they didn't arrest us all yet. and that's what they're trying to we didn't arrest, we didn't get all the niggas, so we got to keep trying. Okay, I get off my soapbox. Also, I think the documentary does a really great job of posting what the prison population was. So, like, let me see. In 1970, it was 357,000. 357,000. By 1980, it was 513,000. 1985, 759,000. By 1990, 1,179,000. By 2014, it was 2 million. It doubled. 2,306,000. I'm sure there was more. That's all I wrote down. That is preposterous to me. Black men are 6.5% of the population and make up, at the time of the documentary, 42% of the prison population. The statistics were maddening for me. Okay. I'm gonna allow another set of people to come in. Listen, let me go over the rules one more time. Okay. Please do your best to write down what you want to say so that you can say it and I can let somebody else speak. What else? I'm asking that only black and brown people ask to be added as a guest. The reason for that is because it's a very sensitive subject. And quite frankly, this is my space, is a black queer woman space. I don't want to hear how bad you feel. I'm not interested today. Okay? I don't give a damn about how you feel, about how bad that documentary felt. Because we won't be centering your feelings tonight. Okay? All right. Thank you for understanding. And if you don't, that's okay too. Because it's my life. Hey, Letitia, you're not on mute, so you don't have to go on mute. You're welcome to start talking.
Well, just to go back and to touch on what you were saying in regards to Miss Hillary Clinton.
Pause 1 second for me. Introduce yourself, your city,
Oh, sorry,
your
guys.
classification, and your majors.
My name is Letitia, and I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. Don't hold against me what Tom Cotton did. We don't like him either. Sorry about that. But to my major, I would say, is continuing to educate our youth. I come from a long line of teachers. So almost every woman in my family was a teacher. I went the other route. I went medical, but that's neither here nor there. I would say, as far as where I am, I would say a junior.
Okay.
But in regards to Miss Hillary Clinton, I was growing up around the time when she said that speech. And that was also along the time when her and her husband used to come to the black churches, and she would smile and skin and grin in their faces, and oh, such an adorable little black kid. But back to the press, we were heathens and everything else that you could think of, which I didn't too much care for. But Bill, on the other hand, he had his own skeletons in his closet, but he was more willing to listen to the black youth because he knew that's where his votes were going to come from. But he was more in tune to listen, and he had a more of a listening ear. So I appreciate him for that. But we also have Miss Sarah Huckabee here, who is now our governor, who, if y'all do recall, when Tangerine was in office the first time, she was his press secretary.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we now, as of January 2nd, anybody who commits a crime in the state of Arkansas will do 100% of the time if it's a felony. If it is a misdemeanor, you would do 85% of that time. And do you know 85% of the people that are getting locked up with that are our youth?
Mm-hmm.
We have kids who, smart kids, and I'll take one of my youngest son's friends, an example. Kid never did anything wrong. He got caught with, I say, probably an ounce of the gardening stuff, if you catch
Mm-hmm.
my drift. That child is 18 years old. He now has to do 30 years
Wow.
for an ounce.
Mm.
And she doesn't care. And right now, our prisons are already overpopulated. We have it to where in our prisons, they're sleeping in hallways. They don't have enough to eat. And the documentary that they did on Netflix only shows one little pod. But in those prisons, they're going without things to eat. There are guys going to the hospital because it's so much black mold in the prisons.
Mm.
And 85% of our prison population in Arkansas are black or brown. And you have probably 7-8% that are of the paler skin color.
Mm.
But my thing is, I have young boys, and I want my young boys to feel safe and have a safe atmosphere. So when it's things like the Khalif Browder story, or when they see us, or 12 Years a Slave, or the Book of Negroes, Roots, I taught my kids young to watch movies like that because nothing has changed. They just put a smoke film over it to make it look pretty now. But I always put in my kids, and my mom put that in me too, teach them early. Give them the benefit of the doubt, but when they show you their true colors, you take it for what it's worth. And I'm appreciative of how one woman made a mistake and posted a video on this platform by accident. And I was one of the ones, and I'm still in that class with her too. But it amazes me. Trump got put into office on Tuesday, on Tuesday. By Wednesday, we got a whole college. There's
It's
nothing.
serious, and we serious
It's
about it.
serious. And one thing I tell my kids all the time, it's not just black girls that are magic. We as a race are magic because
Yeah.
we carry this world on our backs every day with a smile on our face. You may kick us, spit on us, throw us, call us everything but a child of God, but we still carry it on our backs, except for now, because now it's all about us. Like, it's time for us to focus on us, focus on what we can do for each other. And if
Right.
this platform goes away, I know we still have this to fall back on, because if it does go away, I'm quite sure all of these genius minded, melanated people are going to find a way to keep all of this going. And I'm
Yeah.
here for every last minute of it. Y'all
Absolutely.
have inspired me to go back to actual school. So guess what I did? I went online and I enrolled in actual school.
Let's go. Can I get a round of applause for her in the comments? Yes, ma'am.
And that's my little rant for the night. So anybody else,
Yes.
y'all, thank you. Y'all have motivated me and lit a fire back under me that at one point I thought I lost, but I got it back now. And I'm enrolled in about 15 classes, so heaven help me.
Me too, girl. Me too.
But
Thank you so much,
that
Letitia. I
thank you,
appreciate
and
you.
thank you so much for doing this study group. And it gives me something to look forward to when I get off of work. So
Yeah,
thank you. And I appreciate you
absolutely.
for what you have done, my queen.
Oh, thank you, sis. I appreciate that. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
your contribution. You have a good night, love.
You too.